together in that sense when baby boomers and millennials too, because before I kind of we hop into like how we can work together, I remember reading some things about how as a generation, we've been thrust out into the world, but at the same time we've been told, hey, you're lazy. Hey, you guys, are entitled. You guys are the participation trophy generation. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody wins. And,
that's right.
I guess, it's one of those things where. Welcome guys to the Speak Your Life podcast. This is season 2. We are so excited. We have my mentor here. You saw him from episode 3 from season 1, Mr. Floyd Williams.
Hello.
And back at it again. And we are excited because episode 5 from season 1, there's episode about millennials' relationship with work. And today we wanted to kind of go a little bit further into that because I had somebody suggest that there should be a dialogue, an open dialogue between a millennial and a baby boomer. So here we are. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're just going to have a discussion about, just some things, maybe some myths, some statistics, some things, some history related to millennials and baby boomers and other generations in between, and how we all relate to each other when it comes to the office space. So let's get started. So, for those of you, for the people who haven't met you in season 1, go ahead and introduce yourself one more time.
All right. Well, let me first say thank you so much, Andre, once again for having me on your illustrious show again. You're going to make me famous. But I'm glad to be here. But I think what you're doing is really powerful. You're really trying to make an impact on not just one generation, but all generations, and bring some value to them. And I appreciate you doing that. I do the same thing. That's why you and I have a lot in common, because it's all about trying to impact people who impact the world. That's my little slogan. Don't try to steal that.
No promises.
Don't write it down. I saw you.
We go forward real quick.
But no, really. So that's really what you and I have a passion for doing, is making an impact on people, right? Because people make the world go around. There was a song that was entitled that. And I really believe that. So what I have done is dedicated most of my life, and now the rest of my life, trying to impact people who actually can positively, put it that way, impact the world. And so I have a company called Leadership Partner Group. It's a leadership development organization. And what I specifically focus on is leadership development and specializing in executive coaching. And executive coaching is broad. I coach executives in the C-suite, yes. I also coach managers and individuals who want to become leaders inside of corporations. And I love that because I have a business background. Formerly, I was an advertising agency owner for 12 years. And then after that, I owned several other businesses. So I've been an entrepreneur all my life. My wife and I own a company called Provision Mortgage Corporation. It was a mortgage company. So we've had several companies, but the common thread in those companies and industries is my ability and desire to coach and mentor people. So now we have the Leadership Partner Group, which is a coaching firm, and I have my credentials to do that. I have a master's degree in coaching, organizational management. That's right. And a certified ICF coach. So we're really excited about what you're doing and how, what we're doing too on our side to try to bring some value to folks who actually want to be better leaders. Not just in their careers, but in their homes, in their communities, and also, globally, as it relates to trying to do a little bit of something that will impact this world, right? We all can do a little something.
So awesome. We have, what I'm going to do is we're going to just, pull up a little outline just to kind of get things started, talking about like the timelines of each generation and how many are just in America, and also how many are in the job market. So,
Sure.
So for baby boomers, for many of you who may or may not know this, but it's from 1946 to 1964. So anywhere between, if you're anywhere between like ages of like 56 and 74, I know you're like not on the, I know you're on the younger end of the spectrum.
I just made it in.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's about.
I'm in my 50s, so I'm good.
So it was so where I read it was saying it's about 71.6 million total in the U.S.
Yeah.
And about 41 million in the job market. So there's a lot of retirement going on.
Wow.
And also with us millennials, some say it starts in 1984, but I'm just going to go ahead and say 1980 to 2000. Just to give it 20 years. So anywhere between 22 and 38, that was according to CNN. And it also said we have about 72.1 million total in the U.S., 56 million in the job market, and we just surpassed the Generation Xers. That was they were at 53 million. So we're I believe it was in 2016 we surpassed them.
Okay.
So that's just to give you a little bit. For the people out there who may wonder, well, what defines a baby boomer? What is, what age range? How many are there? How many are in the job market? And well, let's just ask you, as a baby boomer, what do you define as a baby boomer?
Yeah. Well, this is something I studied, like I said, in my master's program. We had to write an article about generational differences, and I had to do a whole lot of research about it. Very interesting. Findings, I would say, in looking at all the different generations, and we must not leave out a couple other generations. There's traditionals that are older than the baby boomers, who are now retired, and then the Gen Zs that are coming. Yeah. But let's just focus on those two that you talked about, and specifically talk about my generation, the baby boomers, and I am on the tail end of that, almost a Gen X, but the baby boomers are quite different in their approach as it relates to work in the workspace. Their approach in working has always been grounded and rooted in personal achievement and accomplishment, and taking pride in that. Working hard. Their thought, their idea of someone who's committed to a task involves working long, laborious hours.
Wow.
That used to be a good mantra when we were in the industrial age and other ages.
That's true.
But now we've gone from industrial age to the information age to technology age, and it's not so quite true anymore. So the baby boomers kind of struggle with Gen X's. They make assumptions, or they have this perception. I'm not saying now we're not going to stereotype all baby boomers. But the perception for a lot of baby boomers who have grown up and worked hard 20, 30 years on one job believe that it's your commitment and evidence of your commitment for your job is predicated on you being visible. 70 hours a week on a job.
That's right.
They believe in working together, they believe in teamwork, very loyal, very loyal. Even the traditionals were very, very loyal, to a fault. Traditionals, my parents.
Okay.
But even baby boomers are loyal, and they feel like it's all about working hard. And experience is important to them. And experience, baby boomers believe that experience and tenure should be rewarded. So if I've been in a job for 20 years, then I should be able to get in that managed position. I deserve it. I'm committed to the company. But it doesn't address competency.
That's what I was just about to ask too, because I'm like, does seniority necessarily mean that you're competent? Because there's a lot of people who may, be older, or they may have stood at the company, longer. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that they know those skill sets, or at a really, or accelerating at a skill level that can allow them to be in a higher position or whatever like that. So.
Well, that's the argument for, and you can tell me if I'm correct, but that in my research, that's the argument that
sure.
that's the rebuttal for a millennial.
Okay.
Like, okay, well, you've been in the company for 20 years, but I've got more skill set, and I've been able to accumulate it 5 years.
Yeah.
So I should be able to go past your leadership because of my ability to get more skills and acquire more skills using technology. Right? I've bridged the gap. I've compressed time frames because of technology. You didn't embrace technology, Mr. Baby Boomer, as fast as you should have. And we're not stereotyping everyone. I'm just saying this is a scenario.
Yeah.
And because you didn't embrace technology, you're a little bit behind the curve. So you don't automatically get to go to the next level because of your tenure.
That's true.
And that's the conflict there, because like I said, baby boomers they expect loyalty. I've been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know I have.
Yeah.
And I'm committed to the company, and now I deserve to have this position. So that's a really good and they're very like I said, they're very committed, and a lot of baby boomers practice and believe in organizational citizenship, which means that I do it because it needs to be done. I'm not the janitor of the company, but I see paper on the ground.
Yes.
So I'm going to go out there after the job is over, after I work 40 hours, and go out there and pick up the paper and let's all go.
Yeah.
Baby boomers say, I don't know about that.
Wow.
I don't know about that because this is not my life.
Yeah.
I want to go travel. I want to have fun. I've got my friends to hang out with. I don't even want to pick up the paper because I didn't.
Oh, you mean the millennials?
The millennials.
Oh, yeah.
Are saying that. I don't know about that. I don't know about
what purpose does it serve?
Right.
Like, what's the bigger picture?
Exactly. You tell me. Yeah. So I'll leave it with that.
Yeah.
And so let me see on your side how you would rebut some of those things.
Sure.
But the ideal thing is that we're going to get to this. That we collaborate.
Exactly.
And there are some strengths on both sides that could help to strengthen the organizations if we actually bring both of those together.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So what's your take, Mr. Millennial? How you perceive the baby boomers?
How we perceive the baby? Well, I look at my parents, and I look at you as my mentor, and also, just reading research. Yeah. To begin with, like a lot of times, from what I've seen, between the ages of like 18 to 30, you guys were married at a 40% rate. You guys, 40% of baby boomers were married
18, 30?
Between that age range.
Right, that's good. That's true. I think that's pretty accurate too.
And what that means is, for us, 18 to 30. Millennials are only married 20%.
Wow.
Only 20% of millennials are married between the ages of 18 and 30.
Interesting.
So that's something interesting. So it's it's like a big jump. It's like you guys 40%, us 20%. And the reason why that's significant is because in that generation when you're growing up and there's it's a different time.
Definitely.
You have a family, you have a wife, you have a kid, you have a spouse, whatever like that. But you don't have necessarily the time to like focus so much on your passion. You have more. It's just the focus is more so on your duty. Like you said, loyalty, like having loyalty, having duty, honor, all that stuff. So duty over passion, it seems to be the perception that me and my generation have of you guys, and just seeing it from my parents as well. My mom worked as a teacher for 30 plus years. My dad, photographer, 30 plus years. So like, and just also talking to some of my other parents' friends, like I know I had a conversation with one of them. There was a lawyer, and she was just saying that she really wished. She was like, Andre, one of the things I really wish was that. I really wish I got into poetry. And I said, what happened? Well, she was like, well, I wanted to do something practical. And I'm like, well, okay, well, how come you couldn't do both? And she was just saying, well, I had to do what I had to do because, you know, that was just my duty. You know, going back to that terminology, duty,
Right.
I had to do what was, you know, in the best interest of the family. I had to, you know,
Right.
put, you know, food on the table. I had to pay the bills. And being a lawyer would allow me to do that in the best way that I felt and at that time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's interesting. Because I think as millennials, we sometimes we can pursue our passion at a fault in the sense of like, not in a strategic way of like, what I mean by that is, we'll say, oh, I want to be an artist or I want to be a musician, but we're not financially prepared for pursuing that purpose because you could be that starving artist, you could be that starving musician who goes from gig to gig, and it may take years before you get that big break. And a lot of us, we're not prepared at the beginning.
Right.
We're not, you know, maybe, okay, work a job and then also have the music on the side. And then eventually when that grows, when your money grows, you can save up enough to then, you know, set yourself up so that you don't have to be financially dependent. You don't have to be back on mom and dad's couch. You don't have to be in the basement. And not that there's necessarily anything inherently wrong with that, because I know for me, I've, you know, after college, you know, I've had situations where I had to be there, and, and I'm getting out of that. So, but more so, it's more so the mentality, because and the reason why I say that, because a lot of us, we go out, oh yeah, you know, I've been told all my life I can do anything I want to do, but we have to, you know, understand there is a practicality that we have to embrace when it comes to our purpose. There's nothing wrong with having a passion for art. There's nothing wrong with having a passion for music or whatever the thing is. You can be, you know, social media influencer, whatever you want to do, but as long as you have some, you know, financial backing to be able to, you know, set yourself up so that you can be, you know, secure financially and not have to worry about, you know, relying so much on your parents or anybody else. So
no, that's good stuff. I think that's one thing I always teach, and when I'm teaching and coaching on the business side, is that you know, I love the comparison you made between millennials. Millennials are driven, you know, by passion, and we were driven by what
it was duty.
Yes, and that's good, and that's true. That's accurate because our parents taught us that.
Yeah.
Traditionals taught us that you have to be responsible. You have a duty to your family. You got to raise kids. You can't be out there and doing all kind of things and not take care. And that was instilled into us. We came up in a time, baby boomers came up in a time where there was a mom and dad at the home. They were in the home. So that has changed drastically for a lot of families. A lot of millennials did not grow up with two parents in the home. And surely two parents in a home where the father worked and the mother stayed at home and worked. Stayed at home and provided. A lot of baby boomers did. And they believe in family structure and family and everything, and so it's family first. And then passions later or never, which is not good. You know, I don't. And so in all my study and education, as it relates to someone be able to create a career for themselves, passion has to be a part of your consideration. And as a matter of fact, passion is the first thing that you focus on. But as it relates to what drives you and moves you into directions you want to go. But I love what you said, because I always say, follow your passions, but never drop your financial anchor. Right? Always keep your financial anchor, because you know what happens if you take your anchor up, you just drift out into Neverland, and you never, you know, you lost at sea. So it's really good to be driven by that, be driven by that passion, but have the anchor too, to keep you anchored. And I think that's really what baby boomers can help millennials with, and vice versa. Because some baby boomers say, well, you know, what I really wanted to be, you know, a photographer. I really wanted that. You don't want to go through life with regrets. And you say, well, it was, you know, I had to do it for the kids. I had to do it for. But you have this, you have these regrets, and you have some
I would say sometimes resentment.
That's the word I was looking for. You have some resentment, and it plays out.
Yeah.
And so I never wanted to be the one, you know. So I'm a little different, as you know. I go follow my passion. If I want to go back and get my master's,
that's right. It doesn't matter what age you are. You can go back to school.
Yeah, next time you see me, I might be in law school. I'm going to be a lawyer.
That's right.
No, I'm just kidding. Not going to do that. But I'm just saying, I don't see anything outside of my imagination that's realistic that I can pursue, as long as I keep myself anchored.
Yeah.
You know, with anchored meaning persevere, just have your financial anchor and your, you know, things that keep you anchored, so you won't go out there and float out there into Neverland and just you know, just be lost trying to do things you really don't have the capacity to do. The capacity has to do with finances or skill set or whatever, or time. All those things involve capacity. Yeah. So I don't try to go out there and do, you know, things I don't have the capacity to do. But the things that I'm driven and passionate about that make sense and said. In a practical, you know, realistic frame, time, and way. Pursue it.
That's right.
Go for it.
Yeah, you only get one life.
You only get one life. I mean, you know, I hate people saying, "Oh, it's too late for me." No, that's a sad commentary. You know, not really. If you have a passion and you have a talent. You know, I always wanted to play the piano, but it's too late for me. Why? You know, do you have that skill? I mean, yeah, I'm pretty good. We'll play the piano.
Yeah.
So that's it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I meant to ask you, when you were growing up, like what were some perceptions that maybe the silent generation had like when you were growing up about you guys?
I call them
traditional. Yeah. Some people call it the silent generation. Yeah, they have so many different names. But yeah, what were the perceptions they had of you guys growing up that maybe you're like, well, that's not necessarily true. How did you know?
When we talk about these, I call them traditionals.
Okay.
Retirees. They didn't question the status quo. And they didn't want you to question it. Yeah. Everybody's talking about those eras where we had, you know, civil rights, and most people were looking out the window when they were marching down the street. They didn't want to don't ruffle the Fed, don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. That's not right. Don't ask your manager for more money. You know,
what?
Don't ask for time off. You know,
don't ask for vacation.
Don't try to go and do things you can't do. You know, there's never been a black president. You know, let's be realistic. I remember when, you know, Steve Harvey tells a story. I like to listen to him a lot. About, he was in the classroom. I don't know if you heard the story where he was asked to get up and talk about what he wanted to be when he grew up, and everybody was saying the traditional things. I want to be, you know, work at a mill, or I want to go to the plant. I want to work at a grocery store with my dad, or whatever. He says, I want to be on TV.
That's right.
And he got reprimanded by his teacher, like, to be as being a smart aleck and trying to be funny, and sarcastic, because he said he wanted to be on. He says, you know, who told you could ever be on TV? Do you know anybody who lived been on TV? What makes you think, I want you to go home and I'm going to call your parents and tell them that you was a smart aleck, you know, and you asked the question this way. And he said he was profoundly being as sincere as he could be about he really wanted to be on TV, and she made it very clear that was just a ridiculous thought that he could ever possibly reach some type of goal as as high as that. And then, you know, he said he went home and his mother actually reprimanded him because he told the teacher he wanted to do that, and said, wait till your father get home, because he's going to deal with you. And so I got home, and so I was a hard-working guy, the traditional guy who worked hard, but he was a little different, because he said, when he told his dad what caused his teacher to respond that way, he says, Dad, I still want to be on TV. He says, well, he asked his wife, well, what's wrong with that? You know, and then he told him to go to his room, like he was going to normally traditionally spank him from, you know, messing up in school. But he went to school, he says, write on your paper, that you want to be. He said, what you want you to be? Do you want to be you know, I don't know, to be someone who cuts yards or, you know, mow lawns or something like traditional people in our neighborhood. He says, well, write that down on your paper, but keep that in your mind, your passion in your mind, right? What she wanted on paper, but keep your passion in your mind. He said he never forgot it, and that's what sustained him and made him to, you know, be able to go beyond just, you know, people pouring into him like his teacher, that you could never be that.
Wow.
And now, of course,
yeah, I mean, obviously we know who he is.
He's got 4 or 5 TV shows, but that's really what it was for traditionals. You know, son, you know, you want to go get that job at the grocery store, or you want to go to the plant. Your granddad worked at the plant, at the mill, and they pay good money over there. No, Dad, I want to be an art director. Oh, art what? Art what?
Yeah,
It's, you know, that type of thing.
It's just so funny because, like, you know, there's so many parents that say, oh, that's not really practical, or that's not really, what are you going to do with the art degree? What are you going to do with the sociology degree? But I think our generation, we have been, I guess, we go against the grain. We go against what is the status quo, in the sense of, like, we ask questions. We ask questions towards authority.
Yes, you do.
And we question authority. We don't just accept, hey, well, that's just how it is.
That's right.
Well, why is it that way?
That's true.
And it's like, you know, growing up, it's like taken as disrespect. When not necessarily, it's not always mean. No, there are people who are disrespectful in the way that they ask. But not every, you know, question towards authority is disrespectful in itself. You have to look at the context, and I think that was one of the things that I think it was I would say a struggle growing up as a kid. I would question, you know, why is it this way? You know, as a kid, you always say your biggest, you know, question is why, Dad? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? And you know, he's like, just because I said so. But you know, that as we grow older, you realize that's not good enough. That doesn't satisfy our yearning, our desire to, like, want to know more. Like, how does this work? Because we like to ask those questions to get a better understanding of that thing, or how this process works, or, you know, or how this system operates. And so and it's because of those curiosities that we have the Mark Zuckerbergs, we have different people like that created, you know, Facebook and all these different social media, or just, you know, awesome, you know, amazing, you know, or start amazing companies. So it's because that curiosity, I feel like, has sparked our innovation, our sense of innovation as a generation. I would say we're very creative, because we just, I guess we're just good at turning nothing into something, or changing the status quo and just disrupting everything and just creating something new that can benefit everybody. Yeah,
we've heard that terminology. That's a good terminology for millennials, disruptors. You hit it right on the head. I mean, that research has proven your hypothesis that you know, the power of why. The question why has created a lot of different innovations and created a lot of different companies that we would not have seen emerge if millennials had not asked, and are not asking the question why. And traditionals were very loyal, and they didn't question authority. My parents didn't question authority too much, and that was the biggest thing. Don't ask questions, boy. You know, do what I say, not what you do. What I say. You know, just period. And that's how we grew up. But now millennials are saying, you know, now why? And I think we have to let millennials continue to do that. And I think, you know, when you talk about baby boomers, they like proven methodologies. You know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. They like proven and they don't want to throw out all the data. And I think it's a happy balance between two. There's some things that have, you know, that do work, and we cannot just throw everything out as we ask why, but we can say, why can't we do it better? Or why can't we take what you've got and add to it, or modify it, or change it to enhance that? And I think baby boomers can, in the workplace, we're talking in the workplace,
yes,
that they have to be tolerant of that and embrace the why. I think baby boomers, because the baby boomers are transitioning out. They're saying, okay, this is how we do it. This is the system. We got the data. It works this way.
Yeah.
It's proven. It's met. We're a big company. We can't be taking chances and risks like this. Some of the traditional big companies, the companies like maybe like the Facebooks and Googles, different.
Yeah.
It's always a why.
Yeah.
Every day it's like why, why, and so it's innovation. But with the old traditional institutions, the big banks, the corporations, no, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
And don't disrupt. Disrupt is a bad word. But if we mesh them together, and based on the research that I did, and some of my papers that I had to write, and some of the writings that I looked at, some of the leadership experts and business experts says those are the companies going to be successful, the ones who can merge both mentalities together, mindsets together, embrace the why, and embrace the best practice, baby boomer ideas. Will be the companies that will thrive together, because the baby boomers have figured out, hey, if you take those 4 lugs off that tire out there, the tire's gonna fall off. Don't even try to drive it without the lugs. I know you asked why.
Well, why not? I'll just drive it down the street.
Trust me on this. You don't want to take the
Get
lugs
into an accident.
If you can find another way, but don't do that right now. So that's so as the baby boomers, as the millennials come in and start taking over the workplace, there is something redeeming as far as data and experience and best practices that they can hold on to and build onto.
That's true.
That the baby boomers have developed and created.
I think that can be one of the I guess the other sides, the other dangers of just always trying to just do something different. Not necessarily that it's a proven method or that it even works. There, like you said, there is a balance, and sometimes people want to do something just for the sake of being different without it being actually effective. And I think that is something that we have to kind of watch out for as millennials, because we it's okay to it is good to try new things, be curious, be innovative, but also there are some things that that could be we can't, like you said, build on top of what has already been there, because it's already been proven through time, the test of time. And so that's where we have to, I guess, work together in that sense, when baby boomers and millennials too, because before I kind of hop into how we can work together, I remember reading some things about how as a generation, we've been thrust out into the world, but at the same time we've been told, hey, you're lazy, hey, you guys are entitled, you guys are the participation trophy generation, everybody gets a trophy, everybody wins. And
that's right.
I guess it's one of those things where I was watching this game, a guy named Simon Sinek, and he was on Inside Quest with Tom Bilyeu, and he was talking about how when it comes to millennials, it's all that is not necessarily their fault, because there's been a lack of preparation while they were growing up in their homes and stuff like that. We've been told that we're lazy, we're just, I don't know, we're just not competent, or we're just not we're entitled. And so with that being said, it's just I was taught to work hard to earn everything that I have, and I'm thankful that my parents didn't teach me that everybody is a winner. Like, if you didn't earn first place, then you don't get first place trophy.
That's good.
If you didn't, if you didn't really earn that position at that company, then all right, on to the next interview. Like, there's no need to get mad and get all fed up about it. Like, there's just learn from your mistakes and then move on and get better. That's right. And so I think I think every generation has perceptions thrown upon them. Of course. And I if I was reading right, there's a lot of things that were similar that were said in like Time magazine about what baby boomers experienced growing up as well. Sure. But it's like a lot of generations, they have their differences, but they also have their similarities as well. Yeah. But that leads me to just understanding how millennials can work better in the environments of a workplace. Yeah. And I was reading a few articles, and one of them was talking about how we work best a lot of times. We are more productive, and we are more likely to stay with the company for because I think the average is like 1 year, 1.2 years is the average that we stay at a company. Right. But we're likely to stay at a company for 5 years if we have a mentor. And just like back in the days, they used to have the apprenticeship where you work. If you were a shoemaker, you work under an apprenticeship type of system for 10 years before you master that. Going back to the Maxwell, not John Maxwell, but Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule. Oh yeah. 10 years, and it equates to about 10,000 hours.
Makes you a subject matter expert. Yeah.
So, and I think that's a great model because, and I would say that's a traditional model that I think we should keep. That's not something that we should just throw away just because we want to just be new and innovative. Yeah. We should build on top of that. Yeah. So, what are your solutions?
Well, you hit one on the head. I mean, that's really one of the recommendations, the mentoringship, and that's what I was talking about. I just kind of talked about that a little bit where I'm a baby boomer. There are some best practices and some things that we can embrace and keep as timeless. There's some that are not, but some are timeless. That we can actually transfer on and pass on to millennials. Baby boomers can do that, and baby boomers, I think they're open, based on my research, to receive that. That's what the research has said. Baby boomers are open to mentorship. Many of them, most baby boomers, and say, okay, what have you done? What happened here? But also, after you tell me, give me opportunity to ask the why. Embrace the why. Say, okay, well, that sounds good. The other thing is, my recommendation would be to have these forums like we're having now. Have a forum, and always have lines of communication where we actually can talk about generational differences. Sure. Hey, why do you do that? Why do you buy that? Why do you bring the old lunchbox to work every day? What's that?
Why do you wear a patterned shirt to work like that? Exactly. Why are you not in a three-piece suit?
Exactly. Well, why you wear your tennis shoes to work? Your sneakers. I only did that when I was playing basketball. Why do you guys do sneakers? Well, have communication. Because it's really, that's really not the point. It's not the point that you wear sneakers to work. It's not a point that you wear a shirt and I wear a suit. Are you competent at what you do? Right? You could be one of the best in the company, and you wear your plaid shirt to your work, and who cares? So baby boomers have to have that who care attitude when it comes to things that don't really matter. Right? My dad told me always to dress like I was dressed to impress. What does that really mean? What does that really mean? Dressed to impress. Ooh, I'm coming to work to try to be functional, right? So those type of companies like we're having now. And they don't have, there's not enough dialogue about generational differences and really, so we can eliminate those perceptions and those stereotypes about, oh, that old dude over here, he just got a touch, maybe not. We haven't talked about it. So that's one. And you talked about, the mentoring programs. That is so key, and statistics have shown and proven everything you said to be true. millennial will stay on the job longer if there's some sort of mentoring program there. Expanding communication strategies is really good because, the way that, we were taught to really communicate is to sit down and look you in the eye. Can we meet over? One thing that you always did was sort of like more of a baby boomer mentality is, can we go to Starbucks? Well, get on Zoom. I was like,
you're the millennial.
Man, we can just do Zoom.
I'm old school like that.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So we can actually start expanding our thought about how communication can be effective. Because baby boomers don't feel like, hey man, I just can't, do this texting. I'm just not getting my point across. I don't know, and so we can expand that, and we can also, we can add to our arsenal of how we communicate and embrace it. All of us, then I could be good. Let's meet up with a cup of coffee, come by the house, or let's go out. Go out to, the big thing when I was in the corporate America was let's meet over dinner. Now when you meet over dinner, it's serious. You meet at lunch, but then when you have dinner with your boss, that's serious. Or
you're about to get a new position.
Something going down. You're breaking bread, you fellowship, and that type of thing. Creating workplace to accommodate different styles, right? Which means that just because I don't see you 40 hours in a week doesn't mean that you're not working. Okay, I'm working at home. I'm working, at the park. There's nothing wrong with that. And we're learning that because of the time we're living in right now, and the conditions we're living, that people can function and work in different environments and still be productive. I didn't see you this week. What's going on? No, I was working. I was at home on my laptop working, and I got more done because I had no distractions. And I had this, so we got to be, embrace that. The last thing I would say would just been focusing on being on team building and having that team to be very diverse because we live in a very diverse world now on all levels. And we've got to be able to embrace differences and diversity, and be able to learn and together as far as generations coming together, we're stronger because we usher in two different generations, or maybe more, because we got Z's and we got X's, and we haven't talked a whole lot about those, but all of them together bring a certain value, a certain approach to how to function in the workplace that is valuable. We can take the best, and we can actually build, like I said, on top of it. So that's what I would say.
I agree. And as we conclude, I would say the technology thing, we can be more patient with you guys on that. Because a lot of you guys, have a lot to work on when it comes to technology and becoming savvy with that.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
But just being patient with you guys, and you guys being patient with us when it comes to just being in the zone, being in the environment, and just adapting and just having that mentor-mentee kind of relationship. And at the end of the day, it's all about working together. It's all about communication, like you said, team building, and coming together. Because I think at the end of the day, we are all, when you're working in an organization, it's about the group. It's not about, okay, well, I've been here 30 years and so I'm better than you.
That's right.
Or it's not about, well, I'm just so tech savvy that I don't have time for you. You're just too slow and old. That's not good either. So we have to merge ideas together. We have to be innovative. We have to work together and be mentors, be mentees, and just collaborate. So, but anyways, thank you so much.
Good session.
So this is great, and thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're there on Instagram, and we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Take care.